9 main slate analysis for DraftKings and FanDuel. I'm your host, Moose, at CFB_Moose on Twitter. Here from OccupyFantasy.com, at OccupyFantasy on Twitter. I'm joined alongside the normal co-host, co-founder, co-beast, Brian Jester FF on Twitter. Brian, what is going up, man?
I like co-beast. That means you're also a beast, so congrats.
Well, the amount of data analysis and stuff I've done this week is, I guess, would clarify me as a beast. I will say, though, I had to take a break because I did this scraping project. It took about like 35 minutes to whole scrape, and everything's going well. But then I forgot to put the very last line to save it as a CSV file. So it just did all
Oh
this
no.
work and just didn't do anything at the end.
Hashtag data problems.
Hashtag data problems.
But again, that's why you have the title of Chief Data Officer here at Occupy Fantasy.
Absolutely, yep. So I went ahead and just tweeted this out. So for people who are here now, you can say hello, you can say what's up. As you notice from the ticker above, the full daily plug, full Occupy model are available at OccupyFantasy.com. Membership is low as $2 a week. And if you want your questions answered, you can type player in the chat. I believe that's what the command is. You can also do the Discord command, !Discord, to get information on how to get access to our Discord channel, which has been pretty awesome, really collaborative. I really like the way that's been going. Brian, you've been doing some Q&As over there. What's your thought on the Discord server?
Yeah, it's been great. And just to clarify for those of you watching, if you're watching this live on Twitch, you can hop in the chat and use those commands. If you're watching this replay on YouTube, you should follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/OccupyFantasy. And you can always leave comments on YouTube to get your questions answered. We'll answer those as well. Yeah, the Discord is for Twitch subscribers only. So if you subscribe to us on Twitch, you get access to our Discord channel where all of you can discuss your DFS lineups. We can sweat it together. We can complain together, talk about different strategies. It's overall a pretty good time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. We're going to be here about an hour or so to about 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, because I guess the clock's changed. Talking about just chopping it up, talking about this main slate. As you see here, we have our daily plug written by our contributor Chris Rooney at CDR02989 on Twitter. As you see, as I'm scrolling down here, we go over some betting odds, some team totals, and I'm not going to get it wrong this time, Brian. The thing that is in front of the paywall are his 3 games of stack. So normally Chris will pick 3 games that he likes to stack using our Occupy model. He has some floors and ceiling projections that he uses. A bunch of resources to come up with these 3 games. He does a little write-up for each one, and then goes into more details in positions, contest strategy, contest selection, bankroll allocation. All that remaining stuff is past the paywall. So we normally talk about the games to stack here, and then we kind of just dive into wherever we want to go. But Brian, I am going to ask you one question. Is probably the big question that everyone's asking. Jalen Samuels, 4,000 on DraftKings. Basically, min price, expects to get a lot of work. He is top of the Occupy model. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation, Moose, that, as you know, because you've been grinding the data, it's a pretty rare situation where we have a backup running back who is this price. Generally, in previous instances, last week is a great example. Latavius Murray was at least somewhat priced up, 5,800 on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. It's an entirely new tier below that with Jalen Samuels at 4K DraftKings, 5K FanDuel, expected to get 90 to 95% of the work. James Conner is effectively out. Benny Snell has been ruled out. So it's just Jalen Samuels, Trey Edmonds, who barely has ever played, and they just called up Tony Brooks-James from the practice squad. And just given what we know, Jalen Samuels is going to handle almost every touch.
Yeah.
So what do we do in a situation like this? Low-risk lineups, cash games, it's easy, right? The first player we put in is Jalen Samuels.
Yep.
You don't overthink it.
I do want to cut you off really quick. We have Latin Grinda in the chat. great name. But he says, I saw if I have Amazon Prime, which I do, how do I get free Twitch sub? Brian, can you put the link in the chat on how to link that up so you can get the free sub?
Yes, I will do that now. Because again, if you do have Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch account, and Amazon Prime will give you one free Twitch subscription per month. And if you use it on us, then it's free and you get access to the Discord that way. So
yep, awesome. So yeah, thanks for joining, showing in the chat here at Latin Grinder. But yeah, so you were saying, Brian, cash games, 50-50s, double ups, low risk, stuff like that. Easy. He's your first play, 4K. Probably one of the best spots you'll see for that type of player. But does it get complicated when it comes to high risk?
I think it does. If we look back at Jalen Samuels' game logs last year, he started 3 games. One was a pretty similar spot where he starts into the starting role. It's like 3,700 on DraftKings. And Stephen Ridley was still in the mix then. This was late last year. So it wasn't a full guaranteed workload, especially because Samuels was a rookie. We weren't sure what kind of role he would have. But anyways, in the 3 games he started and got a majority of touches last year, he scored, I think it was like 15 points, 16 points, and 22 DraftKings points. So pretty great floor. The thing about him is he was a hybrid player at NC State, running back, fullback, tight end, great in the passing game. And that's where a lot of his value will come tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
So we have to think here, if we're playing GP please, playing high risk contests, the floor is incredible. At least 10 plus points guaranteed pretty much. And the ceiling is there as well. This guy can easily put up 30 points at 4K. Now, if you remember any of our previous videos we've talked about in GPPs, you really want your guys to be able to score 25 points.
Yeah.
And no matter which price tag they're at. And Samuels can definitely do that. And I guess the question is, if you're making a couple lineups, you're just going to put it in Samuels and then go from there. But if you're making more, you're making 20, maybe you're using DFS Magic or a lineup builder that we partner with to make 150. What do you do with Samuels?
And, we chopped it up. A lot of us chopped it up in the staff chat as well. I think this may sound strange to some, but I think regardless of the number of lineups you put in, you put him in every single lineup. You 100% expose him. There's no other way around it.
So you don't think, and again, this is pure game theory. We're going to talk about high risk contests a lot here at Occupy, and Chris in the daily plug is mostly low risk focused, and that game plan is pretty straightforward with the value that Samuels has opened up. High risk, it is an entirely different story because there's a lot of game theory involved. Looking at bust rates for guys in this price range, looking at any comparable guys who could exceed Samuel's point total in that price range. So, Moose, you don't think so I guess what are the options here if you're playing multiple lineups for Samuels? You either play him in 100%, you play him in like half because we expect the field probably to be around 50% owned on Jalen Samuels, or you fade him entirely. And you think that the clear answer here is to go 100%.
Yeah, so, we mentioned it a couple times on your $1 Million Mission where we review your 150 lineups. There's times when ownership's going to be high on a guy, and you have to exceed that ownership to gain an edge on the field. I went back.
Especially at running back.
Yep, especially at running back. And so I went back, and I got every single regular season Millie Maker or Millie Maker equivalents from 2018 and through 2019 so far for main slates. And what did I find? When it turned, there was really only one other situation where this thing kind of happened. It does not fit my case in point whatsoever, but it was Spencer Ware last year. It was 4K. Week 14, I think it was. 17% of the people who entered 150 lineups, which is the max entry for the 2 million mini 100 special, 17% of them use Ware in 100% of their lineups.
Okay. So 17% of all the people in the Millionaire Maker that week who 150 maxed had Spencer Ware 100%.
Correct, yep. And if you go all the way back from all the data that I scraped, 2018, 2019, I put it in a histogram. I'm going to put it on Twitter once I make it look halfway decent. And you'll see that basically for running backs less than 4K in a spot like this, you see a couple ticks. You see around 20%, and it slowly goes down. And then you see a giant spike, relatively speaking, at 100%, where you don't see these pros going anywhere really between 70 and 90%, 99% on a cheap running back like this. It either seems like you go complete underexposed to him or you completely overexposed to him. And I don't think that his floor and ceiling is a lot higher than Ware's last year. The only other time that made any type of sense like this was when 5% of people, was it the very next week, did Jalen Samuels. So I don't know. That's why I think you go 150 max on him. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I fully agree that there are only a couple ways to do it. 0%, match the field at 50, and then hope to differentiate in those lineups and the other half, or go 100%. I actually think it could be down to both. Either fade completely in high risk or go 100%. I don't know much about in between. I'm more of a take a stance, super high risk reward mentality. So that's one or the other for me. I think I'm leaning right now towards the 100% route. And I agree that, and the data shows that there's really not much benefit to going 20 to 50 or 20 to 40 or 60 to 80. It's really 150 or 0.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting because the biggest thing though, especially on DraftKings, is as I mentioned earlier, is Jalen Samuels' ability to catch the ball, and that's something that Spencer Ware did not have, and nearly as much of when he was in this situation. He was 100% owned in 17% of 150 max lineups.
Yeah.
But if you look here at Jalen Samuels when he started last year, caught 12 passes in 3 games. This year, Samuels, even in a part-time role, he had the big 8-catch game against Cincinnati, 3 catches. The following week against Baltimore and was injured. So, I mean, even in a limited time, he had 11 catches in 2 games this year. So, especially with Mason Rudolph under center, who's been checking down more and more, to me, it just seems there's no goal line threat. They're going to keep Samuels in at the goal line. I don't know, Moose. I mean,
the ability
to get 30 points at 4K is too high here.
Yeah, and I will say the last point before we can move on is Ware wasn't that high, as high in the model last year during that case. Jalen Samuel is a clear number 1 favorite on the Occupy model on DraftKings. Not the highest on FanDuel. He's 3rd on FanDuel. But for DraftKings, number 1 running back in the model, basically min price, that's the way you have to go.
I'm not even gonna lie, I a little bit got goosebumps when he said he was number 1 in the model. That's how exciting my life is these days.
Yeah.
But you're right. You don't see in our model, at least, other models maybe, but in our model, it is really rare for a non-Christian McCaffrey running back to be number 1, plain and simple. And for Jalen Samuels to be number 1 at 4K is all the indication I need. And once I saw that move today, once some ownership was updated, once we saw the Samuels projections and OF Index updated, the more I think that with my 150 lineups on DraftKings, my 150 lineups on FanDuel, I'm probably going 100%. So
yeah, absolutely. And I see we got Miller Park Junkie here who did cheer 200 bits with the PogChamp emote. So shout out to him. It is a new month. November 2nd is our first stream of the month. So top 3 cheers get a prize. Brian normally gives that out. I'm not sure if you want to announce it on Twitter or here. But we do have the top 3 cheers from last month. So be in the loop on how to get the prize if Brian gets the prize this year.
Yeah, Miller Park Drunk, number 1 from last month. Festival, number 2. And number 3 was
BKSA, right?
BKSA, right? Yeah. So today is November 2nd. Next Thursday's single game slate, which will be the 7th, November 7th. I'm going to be 150 maxing the FanDuel $9 GPP on the single game slate. So whatever I get back, not even profit, just whatever returns I get back, Miller Park Drunk, the number 1 cheater, will get 1% of that. So if I hit somehow for 250K, Miller Park is 2,500. Number 2, Festival will get 0.5%, and then BKSA will get 0.25%. Now I've been struggling and really not getting much back when these contests happen, these giveaways. So hopefully some positive variances coming from both me and the cheerleaders this month.
Absolutely, yeah. So all right, so we took the stand on Jalen Samuels in play. Now we got to figure out some other ways to build some lineups. And speaking into the game stacks, the first game stack that I guess we got Jimmy Touchdown in the chat. So what's up, bro?
Name.
Fantastic name. Do you know who Dirty Al is?
I do, I think. Yeah, I think he's one of my followers. So.
Okay, sweet. So shout out to him. Yeah, so Chris wrote up about the Minnesota Kansas City stack, which Matt Moore as quarterback has been fluctuating up and down the model. He actually was number 1 in the model for a second based off some betting lines, movements. But now things have been cleared up. He's little about towards the middle of the pack. What's your opinion about this game?
Yeah, I kind of like it. And just looking, I'm bringing it up in the model myself. Like you said, Matt Moore was high in the model at the beginning of the week, and that was because there really were no betting lines all week in this game. A line just came out yesterday because of the uncertainty with Patrick Mahomes. And really only one sportsbook was brave enough to put out a line. That was the Circa, right? Moose out in Vegas.
Yep. According to the line feed that we have, Circa was the only book that had that line, and that line fluctuated. Minnesota favorite, Kansas City favorite. It was weird.
Yeah, that's going to happen when it's the only line out there on the market.
Yeah, and as Bismo says, Mahomes still may actually play, so who the hell knows?
Yeah, I don't trust that. I mean, Ed Warder reported that I don't trust him whatsoever. Everything you read about this injury is a 3-week recovery, no matter how superhuman Mahomes' ligaments are. So they activated Chad Henne off the injured list. So I don't think Mahomes is going to play, and the betting odds reflect that. So basically, now that an actual line has come out, it's settled in a little bit. Minnesota is 4-point favorites here on the road, and the game total is just 47 points. All of that should indicate that Matt Moore is starting and not Patrick Mahomes. Still, Matt Moore pretty high up in the model, and this game projects as probably one of the higher scoring games. And the game total has actually increased a point. So, and Chris's reasoning in the plug is that a bunch of guys in this game can hit 25 fantasy points, which is that all important number we look for in GPP. So I really do like this game, and I don't think many people will be stacking it.
Yeah, like you said, the small total, the low total, makes this a really good high risk game. Minnesota has been a pretty good stack with Kirk Cousins actually having a pretty high ceiling. Yeah, so I like that too. That might be one of the games that I stack. The one that I actually don't necessarily agree with, just because I've been burned so many times on it, is this Tampa Bay Seattle game. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the chalkiest stack of the week. And even so, people still aren't going to, as we talk about in the $1 Million Mission every week, the 150 review. If you're playing high-risk lineups, most people aren't playing 4 or 5 guys from the same game, even though they should be. But yeah, even if you're playing 100-player leagues on FanDuel, which we recommend the most, this is a great game to get, 2-3 guys from. Russ Wilson, a pass catcher, and then running back with another pass catcher, or vice versa with Winston and Godwin Evans. And the thing here, I'm actually pulling it up again in the model. Seattle, Tampa Bay, highest total on the board, 52.5 points. That's a big reason why most people will be attracted to this. It's a big reason why a lot of the ownership is consolidated in this game. Another guy that I do like to keep an eye on here that Chris has not mentioned is David Moore, who is the number 3 receiver for Seattle. And if they are attacking the Tampa Bay through the air, Moore he returned from injury pretty recently, and he actually got like 20% of the air yards last week. It just so happened that Seattle threw the ball like 12 times. Wow. So if they're forced to throw the ball more here, David Moore, the super cheap flyer, is part of this stack. And he's actually on the underperforming wide receiver list that we'd like to talk about.
Yeah, and that wide receiver list that you make, Brian, with some data, it's pretty good. It's really has had pretty few hits, which I like. Really, really awesome stuff you do there.
Yeah, and again, we said this before, like the air yards model Josh Hermsmeyer originally created this.
Mm-hmm.
And while we can't exactly replicate it, very simple ways to get very close and get on the same guys that regression model is looking at. Most of the question for you is, I know we've talked about in our staff chat a little bit this week, but there are two guys on that list, Preston Williams, Robbie Anderson. They're playing the same game. What do you think about stacking the Jets in Miami? Do you think that game has a wide range of outcomes where we can get 60 points, or do you think it'll be more lower scoring?
I always think that here's my thing. We saw it on the showdown slate last time where Miami is in tanking mode. They start to do well and they're like, oh shit, we still have to lose games and just completely tank hard. So it's and then we look at it from a betting side, from a betting standpoint. Now, really, the only people who are betting Miami are the sharp bettors, the professional syndicate, stuff like that. Public action is getting no liking to that whatsoever. So if you wanted to go more heavy on the Jets side, throw a couple players in for Miami for that game stack, I can absolutely see that. But focusing heavy on a Miami stack might be a little tough for me. I'm looking at the metric that I like to use to rate game stacks, and Miami and the Jets are about middle of the pack, so I probably won't be using this game.
Yeah, the only other benefits of stacking that game is everyone's so freaking cheap, and it allows you to get both McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook and Jalen Samuels, which is pretty crazy. But again, that the pretty low floor in that game, and you might be right. I don't know how high that ceiling is.
Yeah, and I think this week you don't necessarily have to go or try and fit in McCaffrey, Cook. If you look at our model, which I have up here, there's quite a bit of value at running back. I have high owned. We try to say don't get cute at running back. I don't necessarily, and the ownership reflects that. There's some guys that are popping out of the model. Like for example, Nick Chubb is looking here at 7,300, but he's projected 20 plus ownership on both sites. 32 weighted opportunities projected. He's someone that you could fit in that's not too high price. That allows you to maybe pay up for some other guys.
Yeah, because it's really tough at receiver this week, so it's going to be really difficult to actually pay up for both McCaffrey and Cook in any contest type. So, good point there. And guys like we talked about Chubb at some point this week. I can't remember which video or podcast, whatever it was, but he's had more than 122 rushing yards in 3 of the last 4 games, getting tons of opportunity. So Chubb's he's a high owned play for a reason, and you should have a lot of them tomorrow.
Yep. And speaking of that, Jimmy Touchdown Talk says he's looking for a dirt cheap wide receiver. One player from that game. You can check out the model, occupyfantasy.com. You can go ahead and filter it. Since he's new here, can we do this one for him? Can we filter for him?
Sure. We can definitely do that.
Absolutely. So Jimmy, I have the Occupy model up here for wide receivers. We have the main slate filtered here. And I'm not sure what you consider dirt cheap for wide receiver, but I'm just going to go ahead and put in 4,000 on DraftKings. I feel like that's pretty dirt cheap, right?
Yeah, I think that probably classifies.
Yep. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sort by projected targets. And all the columns here.
I mean, look how garbage these names are, honestly.
Yeah, but there's one guy that stands out. Not necessarily in terms of OF index, but look at projected targets. You have Demaryius Thomas projected for 6.2 targets. 4,000 on DraftKings. Still kind of be highly owned projected, but no, that's a good way to start. Demaryius Thomas, maybe James Washington, Damian Ratley. God damn, this is some terrible names.
Yeah, the one guy I will say that it's not going to pop in the model because he hasn't been involved recently. It's a pure speculative play. And he's actually minimum price. Any guesses, Moose, on who that could be?
I actually have no idea who that is.
Paris Campbell for the Colts.
Okay.
He's 3K, first round rookie receiver this year. He has been banged up a little bit, and I guess he was second round receiver, not first round. But the Colts, when they drafted him, they thought he's not a gadget player. He's a full time, can run the whole route tree type player. And T.Y. Hilton's going to miss this week. And when T.Y. Hilton missed back in week number 4, I believe it was. Let me take a look exactly. Yeah, week 4. Paris Campbell led them in targets and air yards. and it went kind of under the radar because he just caught 5 for 25 yards, nothing spectacular. And Campbell really didn't get back in the mix last week because a beat reporter was saying today, I think it was Stephen Holder, one of their longtime beat reporters, was saying that Campbell was just returning from injury. They had some packages for him, but the game got kind of out of hand and they couldn't really do it. But he expects a pretty big role for Campbell this week. So 3K, especially in tournaments, Campbell has, I think has a ton of upside, but honestly a floor of 0.
Yeah, maybe that's some guy you probably put maybe 5-10% ownership in.
Exposure, yeah, I think
exposure
so.
if you're doing 150 lineups. Jimmy has a question, and normally we only answer questions for people who are VIPs, Twitch subscribers, or bit cheers. But it's your first time around here, so we'll go ahead and answer this question. One question for you. He says, "How does Zach Pascal fit into that scheme with T.Y. Hilton?" Now, do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. Like Pascal's been getting a decent amount of usage, and if you look at the week that, well, if you just look the last couple of weeks, if you look the last 3 weeks, Zach Pascal, 9 targets, 90 air yards. It's caught 2 touchdowns in that one game, so that kind of inflated. But if you look at just week 4, when T.Y. Hilton missed, Zach Pascal 7 targets, 91 air yards. So I imagine he'll be that number 1 receiver. Paris Campbell slotting at number 2. I think Pascal's a little bit safer, and I actually don't mind him as a low risk option on such a tough slate. But yeah, Pascal I think can be used in tournaments as well, because if you look in the model, I don't think he's that highly owned or that highly projected. So
let's take a look here.
Yeah, Pascal 2 to 5% projected ownership.
Yep.
Paris Campbell, by the way, just 1% projected on both sides.
Nice. So, maybe that's a game stack that could be, a sneaky game stack there. You do something with maybe like Mason Rudolph, Jalen Samuels, Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell.
Yeah, the thing is, like, there's some underpriced guys in this game because of T.Y.'s injury and because of Connor's injury. So not only Samuels, you can get some cheap correlation by going on the other side. Mm-hmm. Jack Doyle, maybe Eric Ebron, these 2 indie receivers. Deontay Johnson, which Chris wrote up in the plug, is still super cheap for some reason. So, maybe this game has more upside than that as a cheap stack than that Jets-Dolphins game.
Yep. And we got BKSA here who cheered 220 bits to take that top spot. Got some Terminator gifts. Shout out to him for that. Takes the top spot. Really, really appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Moose Bismo has a legitimate question. That Super Galaxy Brain question.
Okay. I just see it here. My apologies, Bismo. Will Mike Williams positively regress tomorrow, or is he actually negatively regressing right now, given his insane touchdown rate last season? The real questions. What do you think about Mike Williams, man?
Yeah, head exploding type moment. Yeah, Mike Williams last year caught just an insane amount of touchdowns given his role, but he was targeted a decent amount in the red zone, in the end zone. So, while we look at touchdown rates for receivers, some obviously are going to buck the trends based on where they're being used. Mike Williams is one of those guys. Mike Williams last year had 10 touchdowns on 66 targets. He has 0 touchdowns on 50 targets this year. He's caught 26 of 50 passes this year. He caught 43 of 66 last year. The biggest thing, I can't stress enough his usage moves in this Chargers offense. Yeah. If you look at last 4 weeks, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mike, this is so dumb. Mike Williams in the past 4 weeks, 507 air yards.
Wow.
35 targets. He's caught 18 for 262. He had another 149 air yards last week. And this game has a high total. It is 48.5. It's increased 2.5 points since the line's open. Should be a shootout. And, I'm going to keep dying on the Mike Williams hill. So, Bismo, I think a little bit of both, a little bit of positive regression coming. The negative regression hit hard from last year's 10 touchdowns. But, he's going to have just a huge game at some point. I may be bankrupt before it happens, but I'm betting on it happen tomorrow.
Absolutely, yeah. And, all right, so Jimmy says, as a professional courtesy, may he ask another question for us?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get some questions. I'm sure other people have questions as well, and that we'll probably be answering for them anyway. So, yeah, let's hear it, Jimmy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Jimmy just gave us the follow, so appreciate that, bro. Really, really do appreciate it. Uh, let's see. Yeah, so let's wait for his question here.
What about this last stack moves
Oh,
that
yeah.
Chris recommended?
Yeah, so the last stack, the Titans and Panthers. McCaffrey, the second highest price tag ever on DraftKings at $10,000. Um, and
You did some research on that too, Moose.
let's be honest, no. Uh, there was the tweet that Chris put in, the second highest ever owner. But the only thing really I did was, wait, what research did I do? I think,
The highest price, just the highest price running backs is what I'm saying. You know, uh, the 10K threshold for different DraftKings running backs.
oh yeah, so basically it showed that they didn't really do too much. Like they were overpriced, if that's the generic saying here. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
They were too high priced for what their floor ceiling could have been.
yeah, but do we think that McCaffrey is better than those guys? The guys who were priced in that range. We had Le'Veon Bell in a couple playoff games. We had Matt Forte, who maybe was because he caught 100 passes that season.
Yeah.
And then Todd Gurley during his like a million touchdown campaign. So I guess Matt Forte is the most comparable, but even the two times that he was priced at 10K, there was one of the two games where he scored like 11 DraftKings points. So not a lot by any means, and definitely a prohibitive cost.
Yeah, and salary is something that goes into the Occupy model under the OF index rank. So a player may have a high projection, but if his salary is too high, his OF index will be lower than what it would be at a different price tag. That's why normally you see Christian McCaffrey one or two
Yep.
in the model. He's fourth right now. He might bump up a little bit here or there, but
I imagine that has something to do with it, though, right? That price tag.
exactly, yeah, a 10,000 price tag that definitely has something to do with it.
And it's not, it's in the model, obviously, it doesn't have that bias of 99 cents versus a dollar, right? Where it's like people think 99 cents is so much cheaper than a dollar because of the number of digits. 9,200 versus 10K, $800 not a ton, but like once you get to that 20% threshold in your lineup, it's of the total salary cap, it's really tough.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So Jimmy has the question. He says thoughts on stacking quarterback, running back, wide receiver from Minnesota. Yeah, that was earlier in the stream. We talked about that was one of the game stacks to do with Minnesota. Go ahead and pair it with a wide receiver from the other side, and you got a pretty good strategy right there.
Yeah, definitely like that, or even Kelsey, even tight end. So
yeah. I'm not really sure what he means by this question, but he says, how often and how many sites do you show a player on? For example, Samuel's on Yahoo, DraftKings, FanDuel, RTS, etc.
Yeah, just the model ranks him on FanDuel and DraftKings, has his Yahoo price in there as well. So the model ranks players on 3 different sites.
It says shop a player on. So yeah, I mean I'm a particularly DraftKings player for my low risk. I play high risk mainly on FanDuel. It's a little bit high risk on DraftKings, and then play like the quick matches on Yahoo. Don't really go too far from there.
Yeah, I mean, someone like Samuels, again, the model shows that he's not as slam dunk of a play on FanDuel because of the touchdown equity. Pretty low game total. Not guaranteed he gets goal line touches. He probably will, but it's not guaranteed. But DraftKings is where you want the 100%. FanDuel, I can certainly see the case where you don't go 100%.
Yeah.
Even though I still probably will.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, as Bisma points out, DJ in 2016 was 10K once. Yeah, it was so funny because we were looking at players who were 10K or more, and like the first year of DraftKings 2014, it was like quarterbacks like 10-5 on there. Like, yeah, okay, DraftKings, get out of here.
Yeah, that was actually nuts. In 2014, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, literally were 10K on DraftKings in like a few weeks.
Yeah.
It goes to show how far the fantasy industry has come as far as because even just 5 years ago, positional value was out of whack.
Absolutely. Even in season long, I still see people don't understand positional value.
No, definitely not. I mean, we see guys like Mahomes in most casual season-long fantasy leagues being taken first and second round. So, as a group, as an industry, it's gotten smarter. But still, if you're new to it, especially if you're new to DFS, then it's going to be the same type of situation.
Absolutely. Yep. So just to clarify Jimmy's last question, I think what we try and do is, based off the slate overall, we come up with a percentage of our bankroll to play, which is allocated here in the plug. It varies between like 1 to 2%, and when all the stars align, like 6 to 8% of a slate. And then we kind of figure out low risk, high risk allocation, and then whatever sites we like to play on, we can go from there.
Yep, pretty much.
Absolutely. Yep. So, all right. So we got about 25 minutes left. If you're in a chat, you can say hello. If you like what we do, go ahead and hit that follow button. If you're watching this replay on YouTube, hit that subscribe, thumbs up, and that bell notification.
You there, Moose?
Yep. Absolutely. So, all right. So, high level question, not player specific. So we can answer this one, Jimmy. He says, when do you stack the same team, quarterback, running back, and no wide receiver? I would say it's probably not really that many times you would do that, just because I'm game stacking when I'm doing my max multi-entry, when I do my 20 max, I do my 150 max on the pooch punt. I'm doing 4 to 5 players from the side, so there's not really a time when I wouldn't put a wide receiver in a game stack.
Yeah, most of the time I'm stacking quarterback receiver. But if it is if you're playing, I think 100-player leagues, most are really great scenarios to do quarterback, running back. And the one that always pops in my head is like Dak and Zeke. Zeke
true.
plays in the passing game. You're gonna get pretty much 100% of the touchdowns that they put up. Obviously, they play on Monday night this week. Mm-hmm. But really, you're looking for two things. One's where the running back's an absolute stud, is going to play almost 100% of the snaps. And two, you're going to get touchdowns, 100% of touchdowns by playing both. So, Cam McCaffrey, back when Cam was playing, Kyle Allen to an extent, these types of stud running backs, you can do it. You're not going to be stacking more than likely Mason Rudolph, Jalen Samuels. But maybe you are tomorrow, so I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah. So, let's see here. Yeah, as the ticker above says, membership as low as $2 a week with the annual subscription. Gets access to all sports we offer: NFL, MLB, well, not MLB anymore, college football, NBA, NHL, so I guess 4 sports. But Lucas actually just sent a picture in the staff chat. He's first, second, and third in a college football tournament, which is just absolutely nuts. The dude is just a god when it comes to college football.
The college football daily fantasy plug went off today. Lucas found a quarterback that was starting, 10 minutes before lock, and he ended up being like 8% owned, and he scored. He had like 35 fantasy points at halftime, ended up near 40 points. So great find.
And I will say
that's the big benefit to having a membership.
And I will say what's a big edge in college football DFS is that super flex position, because I need to go back and do some more research on it, but it's not 100% quarterback from the field in super flex, which just mind boggles me. You'll see tight ends, you'll see running backs before you.
Yeah, you remember our boy Monkey Town on FanDuel Superflex, where people would legit put tight ends in the Superflex position in cash games?
They would put Ertz in for cash game Superflex. Just nuts. Yeah, so, all right, so we'll be here for a couple more minutes. Let me go ahead and give this one more retweet. All right, so how do you want to go about this, Brian? You want to take a look at the QB model like we normally do, and look at some totals and moves?
Yeah, let's do that for sure.
Cool. All right, so I have the Occupy model here, main slate filtered.
Chris, our NFL writers in the chat is saying, just drop it in to say if this slate goes as well as he thinks it will, he's going to be taking a trip to Paris soon. Paris in all caps, and allude to Paris Campbell. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Chris. Right? I think Paris Campbell's a great high-risk play tomorrow. So
absolutely, yeah. So, so looking at some of the top team total moves since opening, you have Miami at 2.
There you go. Most as a game stack.
And then Tennessee 1.75, KC at plus 1.5. And then you flip it on the other end, you have Denver at minus 4.5 points, Chicago minus 2.25.
Yeah, that's the Joe Flacco news. That's what happens when you call out your coach in the post-game press conference and they immediately put you on IR.
Absolutely, yeah.
As Bismo points out in the chat, there is one slate in DFS where you flex a tight end.
Oh, God.
Pro Bowl slate.
Yes, that Pro Bowl slate. We were here. We talked about it on stream. We built a lineup on stream for you guys that were generous. And, that was amazing. We absolutely crushed that. That was one of my most profitable single slates.
Yeah, honestly, that slate, I picked up like 40 millionaire tickets for the Super Bowl. I can't say which one did it, but it certainly helps in the $1 million victory. So.
Yep. And I believe that we're gonna do it all over again. Probably raise our allocation a little bit more now that we have some more data to that we back tested. We'll have more information. So definitely.
Yeah, that and the MLB All-Star game. We'll see if people catch up, but this past year was a huge edge. So.
Yep. Absolutely. So all right. So then looking at that, another thing we like to look at is opposing pressure percentage. As we always point out, quarterbacks do well when they're not pressured. Who would have thought?
Go figure.
And so we have here Oakland consistently completely terrible at getting pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
17% pressure rate.
That's so bad, by the way.
That's actually really bad. But what shows is if you sort by OF index, Stafford's still middle bottom of the pack, even with that low pressure percentage.
Yeah. I imagine that's because of some of the Oakland total moves.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm still gonna be using Stafford because of the total and that pressure percentage. The one thing I will say, we'll see how genius the model is, because Derek Carr ranks pretty low too, despite a high total and despite a low pressure percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some investigating because I was curious about why that was the case. And basically what I came up with, the model is saying that Derek Carr gets rid of the ball quickly anyways, regardless of pressure. He's fourth in the league in time to throw, so he throws pretty quickly anyways.
Okay.
And even though he does throw quickly, he has the fourth shortest average depth of target, so he's throwing short and quick.
Which makes
just
sense.
so happens Detroit is the third best defense in the league at defending short throws.
Hashtag trust the model.
Yeah, so that's the story that the model's telling. We'll see if it comes out to be true or not. If that game fails, that could be a big reason why.
Yep. And we'll probably be here on Tuesday saying, "Yep, the model won again."
Yeah. We'll see. I hope that may be true.
Yeah. And then the other one under 20%, Seattle, which is strange. Like it's strange to me that Winston, he sucks unless if you read that book by the GM. But no, I mean that's another strange game. Chris wrote up for a game to stack, and I think I'm gonna have to avoid that one as well. But then, look on the flip side, man. These are some.
This is the other way to use this column in the model, is finding defenses to target for your lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. And all this goes into the model. It's just what we decide to show from it. But you have Chicago getting pressure on over a third of the pass attempts. Same with Carolina. Same with Pittsburgh. These are some good defenses to show. And for Pittsburgh, the team total for Indy dropped 1.5 points. Pretty low team total, high pressure percentage.
Good correlation play with Jalen Samuels there too.
Absolutely, yeah. Great low risk play.
Yeah, what I like to do, the model essentially does this anyways, is finding high pressure percentages, pretty big favorites, spread moves, team total drops, and that's kind of the crux of what the defensive occupy model does anyways. And it should be no surprise then that teams that meet that criteria are the top of the model for tomorrow.
Yeah, and the other big one that it likes to focus on, again, for those who don't know, occupy model for NFL, we use over 150 different metrics to come up with the OF index. One thing we like to use for defense is the opposing quarterback's aggressive percentage using next-gen stats, which basically shows how close a quarterback throws to a receiver when there's defenders around him. High aggressive percentage allows him to get more turnovers, more drop passes, stuff like that. So if you can find a defense that gets a lot of pressure, quarterback throws it very aggressively, that's some pretty good success right there.
Yeah, that's the ultimate combo there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be here for a couple more minutes. Any last lingering things you want to talk about?
Tomorrow is the London game, so 9:30 a.m. Houston and Jacksonville. Interesting slate overall. So be sure to, if you're playing season long leagues, make sure you get your guys from that game into your lineups. Haven't dug too deep into that slate yet, but it should be pretty interesting if you play a single game. I know Leonard Fournette will be really popular. He's scored 1 touchdown on 198 touches this year. He's due for some positive touchdown regression.
Very.
So we'll see. Yeah, and again, you can use the model single game feature to filter out that game and look at the best plays.
Absolutely, yeah. Filter it by slate. You get the whole 9 yards for the different positions. You get the single game tab if you want to check that out. And for those who play tiers, we got the tiers model up and running as well. BKSA says, Moose, where do you find the ownership percentages before tomorrow's slate starts? Now, the ownership that we show is projected ownership.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have access to actual ownership.
If that was the case,
would be banned.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'd be banned. But
projected ownership.
Yeah, projected ownership. And then for the big showdown slates, I go ahead and I post on my Twitter at CFB_Moose. I put the captain and flex ownership for contests, usually for the big GPP, and then I'm also posting for larger other contests as well. Jimmy says, are we going to shut the popsicle stand down real quick or what? No, we're a legitimate company. We don't just close up shop. So,
I was wondering what that meant, but I'm glad you could decipher it most. Yeah, the popsicle stand will remain open.
Yep, we've been open for several years. Plan to be open for several more.
Yeah, I literally just quit my full-time job for this, so yeah, if popsicle stand shuts down, we're in big trouble.
Absolutely, and from my understanding from his thing, he's gonna do sub real quick. So shout out to him. He says, how long are we streaming tonight? We'll be here for about 3 more minutes.
Yeah, 6 to 7 Eastern on Saturday evenings, previewing the slate. 11 a.m. Eastern on our Twitter. Chris, our NFL Daily Plug writer, will be doing a 30-minute Periscope, Occupy Fantasy on Twitter. I don't think I'll get to do any more YouTube videos tonight for tomorrow's showdown slate. Maybe I will. We'll see. But I've been doing Monday and Thursday preview videos, as well as some Tuesday and Friday NHL preview videos, some first look videos. If you watched yesterday's NHL, you probably took home a ton of tickets and money. And Miller Park Drunk in the chat can attest to that. So so be sure to subscribe on YouTube too, because I'm trying to do more videos there now that I have more time to do it.
Yep. And you actually came very close to hitting that live final on FanDuel for NHL.
Yeah, for DraftKings. Yeah. It was incredibly close and just had different combinations. So.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, let's do. Jimmy says, hold on. So like I said, we're gonna be here for 2 more minutes till 6:50. Let's see what the DJ Khaled quote is. He says, "Let me inspire you," which is what we're trying to do here. One of the things we're trying to do: inspire you to make great lineups, bankroll, contest selection. Go ahead and check out that daily plug, man. It's easily one of the greatest roadmaps to that. And then membership also comes with access to DFS Magic, our lineup builder, built up to 150 lineups. Very, very powerful. Export it, load it right up into the site you choose. Showdown slate, classic slate. NBA should be here in a couple weeks. I'm really, really excited to check that out.
Yeah, the NBA. I actually might start dabbling in NBA if I can do the 150 max with DFS Magic, which I will be able to. So the fact is that, I love playing NHL, but the prizes are just so massive on DraftKings that, it's really enticing. I just hate the fucking sport so much.
You said, yeah. And Chris also, the DJ Khaled also said, LMAO just played Jalen Samuels with 4K.
Yeah, he did. I saw that on Snapchat today. So
Nice. All
most
right.
final. I want any final thoughts, not non Jalen Samuels related. Any strong feelings about tomorrow? Players, games, anything you're thinking right now? I know a lot can change between now and tomorrow, but
I'm going to do my defensive touchdown of the call,
okay.
and I am going to choose. Let's take a look here. I'm going to say that the Raiders get the DST.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I know they rank pretty highly in the model. So
Mhm.
I know a lot of people are shy away from defenses and high total games, but high total games just mean more passing generally. So more passing equals more opportunities for sacks and turnovers.
Mhm.
So I don't hate that.
Yeah. Absolutely. How about you? What's a good player call from you?
Mike Williams actually scores a touchdown in the room.
Okay. Dig it.
I have one more. Let me see here. Uh, just give me 1 second, and I will. In addition to Mike Williams scoring a touchdown, I will say that David Moore also scores a touchdown.
Okay. So David Moore, Mike Williams, and Oakland's defense. Count it.
The trifecta. The
Yep.
trifecta.
All right, and Jimmy Touchdown just subscribed, which is awesome. Shout out to him, man. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
bro.
that. You'll get access to our Discord channel if you need help. Uh, what you need to do is you need to go to uh, your connections, link your Twitch account to your Discord chat,
In
and then
Discord.
in Discord, yep. And then you will go ahead and in that connections tab right underneath, you'll see Occupy Fantasy Channel. You'll be able to join that. If you have trouble, go ahead and hit us up. Um, Not really sure where Jimmy's coming from. I've been taking your cash for a while. Probably, I don't play head to heads, so I'm not sure where you're getting that from.
It's probably that other random Moosey dude on DraftKings.
Yeah, there's a couple Moose people on DraftKings. That's not me.
A couple of Moose people. It's like lizard people, but even weirder.
Yup. Yep. And BKSH is the core: Samuels, Paris, and Williams.
So the core that is short of disappointment.
All right, so Brian, take us out of here, man. Uh, Actually, Jimmy, no, I'm not Moose Bob. I'm MJester93. But Brian, take us out of here.
All right, daily plug. Our full write-up for tomorrow's main slate is up, occupyfantasy.com. Top plays at each position, games to stat, and then most importantly, how to allocate your bankroll, how to create different lineups, which contests to enter. Occupy Model, our real-time player dashboard, is up and will be updated live throughout the night into tomorrow morning. We'll get a pretty big ownership update in the morning. Expect Jalen Samuels to be around 50% owned, occupyfantasy.com. Members access only. Membership as low as $2 per week. Be sure to subscribe here on Twitch, whether it's a Twitch subscription or just following us. We appreciate that. And on YouTube, click that red subscribe button. Lots of new videos coming out on YouTube, podcasts in video form, and then lots more first look videos. Tons of content, Occupy Fantasy. Follow us on Twitter at Occupy Fantasy. Follow us everywhere. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And until next time, join us for the Periscope tomorrow. Have a good night, guys, and let's win some money.
Peace.